Right guys, welcome back to another video, and this is the channel where we talk about everything basketball, and today we're going to do a series, we're continuing on with the series of the World of series, which is basically where we go through each team in the NBA, and I'm basically going to be talking about each of their histories, basically like that. So I'm going to be going through today the Chicago Bulls, which is a very interesting one now. Now, we've had ones in the past like the Hornets or the Nets, who have a very limited history in this league. Now, when you talk about the Chicago Bulls, there's only one man that you can really talk about when you name the Chicago Bulls, and that is Michael Jordan. Now, this is Michael Jordan's franchise, essentially, right? So everything is based off him, but basically what we do on this video is we go through the history, the three good players. So I've picked out like three players which I want to talk about in it more in depth than their personal accolades within the sport of basketball. And then we go through the present day team within the last 2 to 3 years, and if I can see them being successful and their future for the team. But now, after that intro, let's get into the video and talk about the Chicago Bulls. Now, we can't really talk about the Chicago Bulls until we talk about what year they were founded in. Now, the Chicago Bulls are one of the few teams who have never changed their name whatsoever and formed in 1966. Funnily enough, was the last time England actually won the World Cup. Sorry to say that. They have a 51 win percentage and 36 playoff appearances, but before 1984, the year Michael Jordan was drafted into the Chicago Bulls, they would have limited success. Being the furthest they would ever get was the conference finals back-to-back in the 73-74 season, and then again in the 74-75 season, where they would lose both, sadly. But that's the furthest they would get without Michael Jordan, was at the conference final back in those days in the 70s, which isn't bad, but it's not like the most successful team. One of the main changes would be the addition of Michael Jordan in 1984, where the Bulls would get back to the conference finals again, back-to-back in 88, 89 and 89-90. The Bulls would lose both series to the Pistons. That's a shame. They were really good back then, to be fair. Can't wait to make a video on the Pistons as well. In 90-91, they would sweep the Pistons in the conference finals and beat the Lakers 4-1 in the NBA finals, winning the franchise's first NBA title within its history in the 1991 season. So that's a good start, and this would start the domination of the Chicago Bulls in the 90s. Creating one of, the best dynasty of all time in NBA history, in my opinion. The next year, in the 91-92 season, they would win the NBA title back-to-back, beating the Blazers in the NBA Finals. And then, to complete the Magic three-peat, the Bulls would beat the Suns in the NBA Finals to complete this legendary run. The Bulls wouldn't compete for another 2 years in the NBA. They didn't perform very well in these years. Can't think of a reason why. Can you? Let me know in the comments if you can think of a reason why they didn't perform in these 2 years. I'm not sure. There must have been some reason for it. But then 2 years later, they would win their 4th title in the 95-96 season, winning against the Supersonics. 6 out of 10 wins is mad. Like, that's crazy how they could do that, you know. I really respect the team and what they did. This is, in my opinion, the best dynasty of all time. The Chicago Bulls had that best team. I think, if I remember correctly, it was the 96-97 season, possibly, where they won 72 games. I can't remember what season it was, but honestly, one of the best teams of all time, and there's not much more you can say about a team that's three-peated twice in 10 years. How does that even make sense? Now, they do have the best team in NBA history, in my opinion, and to start off this key players list, there's only one player that we can really talk about in this situation, and that is Michael Jordan. And now I'm just going to read you some stats from Michael Jordan's time at the Chicago Bulls, which just sound absolutely insane to me. 31.5 points per game, 6.3 rebounds and 5.4 assists while playing for the Chicago Bulls. And he's won 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, 5 MVPs, the 84-85 Rookie of the Year, the 87-88 Defensive Player of the Year, and 10-time scoring champion, and 11-time All-NBA and 14-time All-Star. What? And he's also the GOAT. Let's just say that there. GOAT. 6 rings, 6 finals MVP, 5 MVPs. What more can you say about this guy? That's like, he's got the best mentality of all time in NBA history. The best, well, like one of the best winners of all time. He's not as good at winning as Bill Russell, rest in peace, but he's one of the best winners of all time. He's got one of the best mentalities of all time. Did everything he could to win. And the GOAT, in my opinion. And there's not much more high praises that I can say about Michael Jordan. Reading out his stats, you can see how consistent he was as a player, as an all-round player, and a leader. Like, he's such a leader in all situations throughout his time playing with the Chicago Bulls and even with the Wizards later on. Like, the best basketball player of all time, and that's what stands out at this franchise, is having the best basketball player of all time, and that's why they are such a big franchise and organization, like, for however many years, because they have Michael Jordan as the face of that team forever. You'll never have a better player than Michael Jordan. No team will. And that's just why the Bulls are so recognizable, is because they had the best player of all time, and fair play to you. Next, sorry I've stopped talking about Michael Jordan there, but I'm going to go on to Scottie Pippen. Averaged 17.7 points per game, 6.7 rebounds, 5.2 assists, a Hall of Famer. Obviously, I forgot to say Michael Jordan's a Hall of Famer, but obviously. A 7-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA, a 6-time NBA champion, and a 10-time All-Defense. Scottie Pippen, a crucial part of that Chicago Bulls dynasty as well. I don't know whether he's the second best player in Chicago Bulls history. You've had players like Bob Love, you've had Artis Gilmore, you've had so many good players at this team. It's hard to say, but let me know in the comments if you think Scottie Pippen is the second best Chicago Bull of all time. Then, for the final player, I've gone for Artis Gilmore. Now, Artis Gilmore actually did play in the ABA for most of his, well, for 5 years, I think it was. He played for Kentucky, I think it was, in the ABA, if I remember correctly. He was great for Chicago as well. Averaged 19.3 points per game at Chicago, 2.5 assists, 11.1 rebounds, a Hall of Famer, 11-time All-Star, 5-time All-ABA, 71-72 MVP, and Rookie of the Year in the same year for the ABA. Like, he was the Rookie of the Year and the MVP in the same season. What? Even though that's the ABA, that's still massive. I didn't even realise that he did that. Fair play. 75 ABA champion and in the all-time ABA team. Like, I obviously have never really watched Artis Gilmore play, but clearly one of the best players, well, one of the best players to ever play in the ABA. And then when he came over to Chicago as well, played extremely well and was one of the best players to ever play in Chicago Bulls history as well. I also want to say a shout out to Dennis Rodman, Bob Love, D Rose. There's so many good players which you could choose from this organization. This video was so fun to make, way more fun than the Nets videos, than the Charlotte Hornets videos. They were so depressing when I was saying the best player in Charlotte Hornets history is Kemba Walker. Why? You've got Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen. I can't talk about this team enough. But let's move on to the modern day of the Chicago Bulls and let's talk about them. Now, the modern day of the Chicago Bulls have a really good young team. Some older players, you've got players like DeMar DeRozan there, who's a bit older, Zach LaVine, who is probably getting into his prime now. Then you've got players like Lonzo Ball, who is very good. He is one of the best point guards, top 15. He's top half point guards in the league, give or take, if he can stay fit, and he is really good. It's just the issue of him staying fit, which he never seems to be. I cannot remember last time he was genuinely fit. Then you've also got players like Vooch, who's been there for a long time, who is a really good player as well. Not sure he is the center that Chicago needs in these situations when they need, for example, a rim protector, for example. I don't think he's that good at that job. But again, that's not really his fault. That's a recruitment of the Chicago Bulls. And the issue I have with the Chicago Bulls is the fact of they're a really good team, but they're kind of in that fighting for playoff zone. They're kind of in that, you might come 5th, You might come 7th, you might come 6th. You're not really going to come 4th or any higher than that. They don't really have that many assets. They've got a lot of young, good players, which I really do appreciate as well, which I personally don't know a lot about, but obviously I hear from Chicago Bulls fans that these are really good players and they could progress into being like players that could help a team contend for a title. But in my opinion, like last season was the first time since 16-17 that they got into the playoffs, which is like wild to me. And they haven't had much success since MJ only getting to the conference finals in 2010-11 with the help of D Rose, and like they didn't get past the conference finals. Like that, they did that before MJ, and they did that after. They need to progress as a team, and being one of the biggest organizations in the whole of the NBA is a really important thing for this team to be successful. I really like the Chicago Bulls, and they're one of my favorite teams because of Michael Jordan, because of D Rose, because of Scottie Pippen. Like these players I grew up on loving and watching, and that's why the Chicago Bulls hold so much like love in my heart. I really love the Chicago Bulls a lot. The future of this team doesn't seem that great. In my opinion, they're a fighting for playoff sort of team. If they can maintain playoff status, I think that would be a success. And maybe if they can reach a conference final again, that is possible. But the way we've seen them being dismantled in the playoffs against Milwaukee, that is not a good sign for this team. I know they've had injuries, I know that for sure. But this team need a starting really good centre. They could have really done with Rudy Gobert. I've heard people say they could have really done with Rudy Gobert. That's my opinion. This is my video on the Chicago Bulls and the story of the Chicago Bulls. If you have liked this video, I would really appreciate if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel. That would really mean a lot to me, and it would really help me out. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate you.